This document came out from the White House in November 2016, so right before the Marrakesh Climate Summit. And I was very surprised to find out what the summary of this document is. So we've got three things that are absolutely necessary to address climate change and meet the goal that the administration and the world has set of getting emissions down 80% by 2050. So this is how they're going to do it. First, we transition to a low carbon energy system. And then we also have to reduce non-CO2 emissions. But right in the middle of those two things, sequestering carbon through forests, soils, and CO2 removal technologies. So forget the CO2 removal technologies, because later in the document, they explain that those things don't really exist. And what this document focuses on is sequestering carbon in soils and forests. And this was quite amazing to me. So let me tell you a little bit more about what I learned from this document, which I could have learned from Peter, but people have been paying attention in the government. They say there's an opportunity to significantly increase carbon stored in cropland and grassland soils, creating potential to enhance agricultural productivity while generating a carbon sink of hundreds of millions of tons of CO2 annually by 2050. So this is coming from our climate experts at the White House. They say that this land sink could store the equivalent of 45% of US greenhouse gas emissions. Carbon storage in cropland and pasture can be increased through practices like no-till, cover crops, management-intensive grazing, agroforestry, and other innovations. And this is what the farmers need to make it happen. They say carbon reporting, accounting, and monitoring tools can help ensure we are supporting the most cost-effective land-based mitigation investments. So they are directly supporting the work that Peter does. And also this is a good, when I thought about how we get locked here. So my organization is pushing, and this is Monsanto, generally. We're working against Monsanto. And in this instance, where we fought the GMO fight, where there was very little data, very little scientific investigation into the risks and harms of genetically modified organisms, in this case, because of the work that Peter and others have done, we can tell by looking at the soil how well the management techniques are working, and there is no question. So we don't have to be locked in a rhetorical fight with Monsanto. They can engage in this effort on soil health. We can engage on this effort in soil health, and we will just measure it to see who comes out on top. And I'm fairly confident that organic and regenerative farmers and management-intensive grazers, they're going to blow Monsanto's side away. So, and here now for policy, what we should do in the Farm Bill. It says farm programs should incentivize producers to choose production practices that minimize climate change impacts and that achieve multiple strategic carbon conservation and water goals for every dollar of federal investment. So we have this advantage that we have measurable results from regenerative agriculture practices. And what the White House is saying we should do, we should measure our farm programs by the same. So we should see if these farm programs are giving us the return on investment that is expected. And they say we have to do this quickly. And they point out that every decade of delayed climate policy increases the cost of meeting a given emissions target by about 40%. And I don't think that that's a statistic that is particular to agriculture.